Hey guys, a question I get very frequently from my viewers is whether it's a good idea to switch from a one-handed backhand to a two-handed backhand. And I'm not going to make you wait until the end of the video to find out. I'll tell you right away, it's not a good idea. And here's the reason why I say this. See, on tour, you see predominantly two-handed backhands being struck nowadays. And this is why a lot of recreational players want to switch to a two-handed backhand. Maybe there's going to be some advantages, for example, on the return of serve. However, my research has shown that adult tennis players who started playing tennis in their adulthood have a far easier time hitting a one-handed backhand compared to a two-handed backhand. And there's a reason why this is the case. When kids learn a two-handed backhand, they learn it in a more intuitive way and have a far easier time adapting to this shot. On the other hand, adults who try to learn the two-handed backhand, they find it far more difficult compared to learning a one-hander. So if you are a recreational player who started playing tennis later on in life, there's a reason why you have a one-handed backhand, because it's the far easier shot. And here's why. When you hit a one-handed backhand, there's less torso rotation and it's a far more simple shot. You basically have to start with a loop, then you drop the racket and you just swing the hand around the shoulder. This is a much easier movement than the two-handed backhand that needs to have torso rotation. So on the two-handed backhand, we have to rotate the torso and come all the way around until the chest is pointing towards the side fence. And it's not only that, the two-handed backhand can be hit with many different arm structures. So it can be hit with both of the arms bent. It can also be hit with both arms straight, and it can be hit with a hybrid where one arm is straightening in the back and then into the contact with one arm slightly bent and one arm straight. On the other hand, the one-handed backhand is always struck with a fully extended arm. And also the timing on the two-handed backhand is unlike any other shot in tennis. So it's not so much like a lefty forehand if you were right-handed, because on a lefty forehand, you would have your dominant shoulder get ahead of the non-dominant shoulder. Now on a two-handed backhand, you always are going to have the dominant shoulder in front of the non-dominant shoulder. So it's much more like a one-handed backhand than it is like a non-dominant forehand. So the rotation on the two-handed backhand is led by the dominant side, and it's also a delayed rotation. So many recreational players will rotate too early that we kind of spin around their own body, and the radius of the stroke gets reduced from that. So what needs to happen on a two-handed backhand, there needs to be a slight delay in the rotation so that the non-dominant shoulder never gets ahead of the dominant shoulder. So these technical facts make the two-handed backhand a far more complex shot compared to the one-hander. And this is the reason why it's very difficult to adapt from a one-handed backhand to a two-handed backhand. Now, what about all the advantages you can get from a two-handed backhand, for example, on the return of serve? Well, in my opinion, it evens out. So while, yes, you have more advantages on the return of serve, there's more stability there, you can deflect the ball much better with two hands, I feel you do lose a little bit of power with two hands because there's less range of motion, and this is why this shot involves torso rotation. We would not be able to get enough power if we weren't rotating the torso. The one-handed backhand, on the other hand, has a lot more swing momentum, and there's a lot more power that's generated from the arm action alone. So I feel at the recreational level, since players sometimes have a hard time utilizing the body, they can get a lot more power out of their arm alone by using a one-handed backhand. Another question I get very frequently is whether someone can have both backhands. So maybe hit a one-handed backhand during the rallies and then have a two-handed backhand on the return. And the answer is no, you cannot. You need to have one backhand and stick to it. And the reason why this is the case is very simple. You cannot put enough practice into both shots and have enough muscle memory so that both of these strokes are going to be dependable enough in a match. And this is why you don't see players at the elite level who have a one-handed backhand and a two-handed backhand. I'm going to use myself as an example to explain why this is the case. So people often ask me, do you have a one-handed backhand or a two-handed backhand? And I have a two-handed backhand, but I teach tennis with a one-handed backhand because often I will hold balls in my left hand, and I've actually learned to hit a one-handed backhand, and it's pretty decent, and you can take a look here. So you can see there it looks okay, but I can tell you that I would never be able to use it in a high-level match because it would break down on me. It's not good enough for it to be sustainable in a match of that quality. And why is this the case? Because I adapted my one-handed backhand later on in my life, and there's just simply not enough muscle memory there for the shot to become good enough. And another example is Juan Martín del Potro. When he injured his left wrist, people were asking him, why don't you just play and hit a one-handed backhand? And Del Potro said, there's no way I can do a one-handed backhand in matches. It's just simply not good enough. So my advice to you is to simply try the two-handed backhand. There's going to be a small percentage of players who will be able to adapt to a two-handed backhand. And if you're one of them, you're going to find out quickly. But what most players will experience when they try a two-handed backhand is that it's going to feel awkward. It's going to feel like there's not a lot of range of motion. It's going to feel cramped and stiff. And if this is the case, forget about it. You are much better off playing a one-handed backhand.